Hi, I'm Katie from What Katie Did, and welcome. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about our new dress range and how it came around. I don't know if you know the story behind What Katie Did, but way back in the late 90s I was working for fetish shop Skin 2 in Ladbroke Grove, it was a couple of miles, actually just a mile north of where our London boutique is at the moment. And Skin 2 focused on latex clothing, but they also did a few more labels as well. They used to carry a lot of other latex brands, and we used to do corsets by Vollers and Axfords. And we also used to stock fully fashioned stockings and seam stockings by Jonathan Aston. And just after I left, they decided to just focus on their own brand of latex. And that left me really without a cheap place to get fully fashioned or seam stockings. Now, I could have gone to Agent Provocateur, but at that time, and still actually, I don't have enough money to shop at Agent Provocateur, so that was really out of the way. And so the only way I could get affordable seam stockings and fully fashioned stockings was to do it myself. And so what I did is I knew where to get them wholesale, so I invested. First of all, I invested £100 in Jonathan Aston seam stockings. And there were and still are a couple of fetish markets in London, so I used to go to those. I used to fill up my laundry bag full of stockings, and I used to have mannequin legs, and on the tube there would be everyone, I'd never go through a journey without someone going, so where's the rest of her, love, and all this. So I'd have my mannequin leg sticking out. And I did that for a year, and I wouldn't say it was a great success. I mean, when you see certain people on Dragon's Den or the US version Shark Tank, there's people who go up there and they say, you're having a laugh, this is never going to work. Well, that was basically me, because I wasn't making very much money at all. What I did have was persistence. So I kept doing the fetish markets for a year, and then I actually borrowed £1,000, which seemed like a huge amount of money at the time, to buy a computer, because that's how much they cost 20 years ago. So I took out a loan for £1,000 for my computer, built a little website, and had a PO box, and people actually started sending in their postal orders to the PO box and ordering nylons from there, and it gradually built up. It was so slow, but the reason it started was because I couldn't afford seam stockings at retail price. When I was at Skin 2, the girls I used to work with, Fran and Michelle, they used to wear a lot of vintage lingerie as outerwear. Michelle used to wear long line bras, which she used to pick up from Shepherd's Bush Market. And in fact, you can still get old long line bras at Shepherd's Bush Market in London. Well, Fran used to wear open bottom girdles as a skirt, or either panty girdles with opaque tights underneath. And I was really young back then, and I was really inspired by their style, and they really introduced me to vintage inspired fashion and how to wear it. And of course, it is more wearable than wearing latex on a day-to-day basis. The Skin 2 boutique was just up the road from Portobello Road, as I mentioned before, where our London boutique is. So on Fridays, we used to go there before the shop opens and go scouting for vintage goodies. And I used to pick up quite a lot of vintage lingerie from the market, and it is very lucky to have that on my doorstep, really. Back then, back then I was a 36C, so even though I was quite a commercial size, it was still difficult to find pieces in my size. And the pieces I did find, I didn't want to wear that much because I didn't want to damage them. Whereas at that time, it was still easy to find dresses from the 1950s, and they were generally very, very affordable. So when I started What Katie Did, it was my aim to remake the underpinnings, which you really couldn't find, or if you could find, they were worn or in bad condition, or you didn't want to wear them because you didn't want to wear them out. So the idea was to recreate 1950s lingerie to go under genuine 1950s dresses. Of course, 20 years on, we're kind of in the same boat with true vintage fashion, whereas it is, when you look back at the 50s, we're now like 70 years ago, and the dresses and clothing which is still around has got a lot more expensive. It's in a lot worse condition. And if you're I wear vintage or vintage inspired every day, and I walk to work. I'm very physical at work, a lot of bending over and stretching. And when you wear a vintage dress, and when you lift your arm up, I actually did a TV show in the US a couple of years ago, and I lifted my arm up and the seam went on a vintage dress, and you really don't want that to happen. So while true vintage has become more expensive and harder to find, we're very, very lucky in the fact that there are so many reproduction vintage brands out there now. And the thing that kind of put me off doing vintage inspired dresses at all was the fact that there's so many people out there doing such a great job. And if you follow what Katie did, you'll know, and if you follow the videos, you'll know that I wear basically 95% of the time I wear reproduction vintage, and it's always credited. So I won't read out the brands out here, but you'll know that I do love my vintage repro, and I wear it all the time. So the first thing about us, or what Katie did doing repro vintage, is there really a market for it? Because there are so many other brands doing it so well. And a few years ago I was thinking, well, maybe if I'd done it 10 years ago I would have been able to kind of sneak in there, because at that point really there was only Vivienne of Holloway, and since then all these other amazing people have appeared. And then last year really it all came together, and as I just said, I was wearing one of my vintage dresses on screen a couple of years ago, and I lifted my arm up and the seam ripped. I've been collecting vintage for 25 years now, and I do have an amazing collection, but I feel I don't want to wear it because a lot of it is in bad condition. A lot of it I have grown really, really attached to, but I really feel I can't wear it very often because I am scared about seams ripping, or it is a treasured piece and it is wearing out. So although I do have a lot of vintage, it's not really in wearable condition. And there are a lot of groups on Facebook where you can sell vintage, but again, I could sell it, but again, it's not. If I'm not going to wear it because it's damaged, no one else is going to wear it. It's not really in sellable condition either. So I'm kind of stuck with all these dresses I've grown to love, who are part of my life. And kind of a thought struck me last year about why don't I just recreate them as part of what Katie did. So basically that's what we're doing. So what sets us apart from other repro brands? I am looking at my own collection, my treasured pieces, and I am keeping them as authentically vintage as possible. So I'm using fabrics available at that time, and I'm thinking about how they interact with the lingerie, because as Christian Dior said, without foundation there can be no fashion, and that's really the mantra for our clothing range, is it's really from the inside out. We've already had a few questions from you guys asking if you have to wear shapewear under our dresses, and no, shapewear is totally optional, and you can really wear whatever lingerie you want. Obviously, because our designs are taken from the 40s and 50s, the bullet bra would give an amazing silhouette underneath, but you don't have to wear a bullet bra at all. It's not like the darts aren't positioned specifically so you have to wear a bullet bra. We've created it so you can wear a modern bra and it'll still look fine. It's just a bullet bra really is the icing on the cake. And the same with shapewear. We've designed, most of our dresses will have a tie belt, which means that you can cinch it in if you want to cinch it in, and have it looser if you're not wearing a cincher or a corset. But it has been designed that you can wear it with both. We've got our Lucy shirt dress, which is a really adaptable piece, and with that I can wear it comfortably without my corset, and I can wear it with a corset. And obviously with a corset it gives it an edge, it makes it look slightly more refined, but it looks almost just as good without a corset or shapewear at all. So really the shapewear and lingerie underneath is up to you. You don't have to wear it at all, and it's designed to fit a modern figure without shapewear. The shapewear is just the icing on the cake. Currently, we're using all natural fibres for our dresses. We're using cottons and rayons. We're having a slight quandary about what to do with zips, because zips were quite heavy in metal back in the day, and now it's nice to have an invisible zip. So we are kind of, if it is invisible, we are using plastic zips, simply because we don't want a big metal zip to spoil the line. But it will say that in the product description. All our dresses are hand wash. Just like our lingerie, I personally feel that if you hand wash an item, then it's more likely to last longer, and you're more likely to look after it. And our dresses, just like our lingerie, are made to last, and we want you to look after them, and we want them to last a long time for you. So by hand washing, it just gives that extra edge, and it'll stay in pristine condition a lot longer. To begin with, we're introducing our range of clothing in UK dress sizes 8 to 20 and US dresses 4 to 16, and we will see how it goes, and we will look at expanding that if there is a call for it. We are taking things very slowly and steadily with our clothing, and we'll be introducing new pieces throughout 2020, and we're working with exclusive prints, which is really, really exciting. We're trying to keep it authentically 40s and 50s while still giving it a slightly modern edge. So the colours and patterns will have a slight nod to what's happening in the world of fashion, but we're not going to make it too extreme. So basically, if you're into fashion, you'll look at it and you'll think, oh yes, I know where that's come from, but it's not going to be in your face 2020. It's going to be as 1950s, 40s vintage as possible, while still having a slight nod to what's happening in 2020. I hope you'll enjoy watching how our collections grow over 2020. If you do have any questions about our dresses or our lingerie or vintage in general, please get in touch, and I'll catch up with you soon.